Well, hey y'all, and welcome to the Hillbilly Chicken Ranch. I'm Susan, your hostess. Today I'm in the kitchen, and I will be canning up, hopefully, some good tomato sauce. Now, this is my first canning experience doing this, so y'all stick around and check it out. I pulled out a large stock pot today. I've got 3 gallons of strained tomatoes in here. And we are going to turn this into tomato sauce, hopefully. So we will see how this goes. This is the first time I'm making this. So I didn't want to bore you with chopping up tomatoes and all that other stuff. And I'm going to put this into half pints. I've already got some sterilized, and I've got the rest of them clean, sitting on my counter, and we're going to get to canning this in a short little bit, hopefully. Now this needs to reduce by at least 1/3 of my pot. It's already reduced about a 1/2 inch already, and I do have it on a low heat. I did all my prepping yesterday. I stored it in my refrigerator overnight, so I need to get this up to temperature and get this excess liquid evaporated off of this, so it'll be a nice sauce to put on our pantry shelves. So it's going to take a little while, but I just wanted to show you what it looked like in the pot. Now I've also added, I had 3 gallons of liquid. I want this to reduce down hopefully close to 1/2, at least 1/3 to 1/2. So what I did is I went ahead and added in my canning salt and my citric acid. That's why you're seeing all this foam on the top. That's from the citric acid being added. And I did a taste test a little while ago, and it's on spot, so I'm hoping that I don't have to add any more citric acid to this. I won't add any more salt, but I want just a plain tomato sauce on my pantry that I can use in multiple things. Now you can add your own herbs and change the flavors up, and you do not have to use as many tomatoes at one time to make this sauce. Although we had a 25-pound box of canning tomatoes, and that's what I'm using today. Now I pulled out 2 full packs of the half-pint canning jars, and then I had some leftover jars. I went ahead and washed them up just in case. These little short jars, that one's probably a vintage jar, and then I had a Mason half-pint here. So all of these are clean. I've got plenty of flats ready to go. They have been washed, and we're going to get this canning process going here in a short little bit. Now I'm doing a basic tomato sauce, and there are actually 2 recipes in the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, and one is for water bath canning and the other is for pressure canning. I'm opting with the water bath canning, and the reason I'm doing it is I have such a large amount that I want to get done, but I don't want to rush the process. I don't want any siphoning off, and I want my tomato sauce to turn out like it should. So I'm just going to read through this real quick. This recipe is found on page 362 of this book. And it says tips for a thin sauce, you'll need 35 pounds of tomatoes to produce 7 quarts of sauce. For a thick sauce, you will need an average of 46 pounds of tomatoes to yield a total of 7 quarts. For the best quality product and vacuum seal, pack tomato sauce 1 jar at a time. For each jar, add lemon juice or citric acid, then salt, and your dried herbs if you want to use herbs. Ladle in hot sauce as indicated in step 8 and place the jar in the can and repeat until all the jars are filled. So I have a box of 25 pounds of tomatoes that I needed to process. I'm not going to get as much out of it maybe as I would if I had the full 35 to 46 pounds of tomatoes. It says to core your tomatoes. And then you're going to prepare your canner, your jars, and your lids. And they're sterile. Wash and sort your tomatoes, removing any bruised or discolored product. Quarter 6 tomatoes and place them in a large stainless steel saucepan. Bring to a boil over medium heat. Using a potato masher, crush your tomatoes to release the juices, stirring constantly. While maintaining a boil and stirring to prevent burning, quarter additional tomatoes, adding them to the saucepan as you work. Make sure the mixture continues to boil vigorously while you add, stir, and crush remaining tomatoes. When all the tomatoes have been added, boil, stirring occasionally until tomatoes are soft and juicy, about 10 minutes, and remove from heat. Working in batches, press tomatoes through a fine sieve, food mill, or a Victorio strainer to remove skins and seeds. Discard skins and seeds. Return mixture to saucepan and bring to a boil over high heat, stirring frequently. Reduce heat to a medium-high and boil until the volume is reduced by at least 1/3 for a thin sauce. For a thicker sauce, cook until it is reduced by half. Before filling your jars with tomato sauce, add your lemon juice or citric acid to the hot jar in the quantity listed below. Add your dry herbs if using to each jar. Of course, you're going to add your salt. They didn't tell you that. Ladle hot sauce into prepared jars, leaving 1/2 inch headspace. Remove air bubbles and adjust headspace if necessary by adding hot sauce. Wipe rim, center lid on jar, screw band down until resistance is met, then increase to fingertip tight. Place jars in canner, ensuring they are completely covered with water. Bring to a boil and process pint jars for 35 minutes, quart jars for 40 minutes, and 1.5 liter jars for 50 minutes. Remove canner lid. Wait 5 minutes, then remove jars to cool and store. And it also has a note in here about siphoning tomatoes. If you overpack the tomatoes, you will have siphoning. So you want to be careful whenever you pack your tomatoes. So that's the recipe that I'm going to be following. Now, what I did yesterday is I went through all my tomatoes. I got them washed, cored, and then I put them through a food processor. Then I heated my tomatoes and pulled off as much of the liquid as I possibly could, and then I put it through a strainer and allowed it to continue to drip and press down, and until I got as much out of it as I possibly could. I need to purchase a juicer. I would have probably had a lot more juice coming off these tomatoes than what I actually got. But we're going to go into the kitchen now and we're going to see how this process works. So I have skipped over the first part of this. All the prep work was done yesterday, and now I'm in the kitchen and I'm getting my tomato sauce cooked down so that I can jar it up. While I'm waiting for my sauce to thicken and reduce, I thought this would be a good time for me to jar up some of these herbs that we've been storing up. This is the whole oregano, and this is good for a lot of things. And these little containers come in handy for germinating seeds and stuff, so I'm going to hang on to the containers. I pulled out a quart jar because I have so much of this. You'll pardon my arm. So I have 1 quart of this whole oregano. I'm going to grab a lid and a bay leaf. And this basically just keeps the bugs out, helps keep it fresh. You can use an oxygen absorber in these. As long as there's no sugar in there, it will work out just fine. I will label the top of the jar to let me know what I have in here. This will get stored in our long-term pantry storage. I've got 1 more quart-size jar here. We're going to finish up this oregano, and then I've got some ground rosemary. So this jar probably won't be as full. Yeah, I didn't quite fill it up. That's okay. It was too much for, oh, wait a minute, I've got another one. It was too much for a pint jar. So maybe we will fill it up. So yes, it did fill it up. So that's a good deal. Grab another one of my bay leaves. Or a couple of end-piece bay leaves, because this has a lot of broken pieces in it. The bay leaves doesn't change the flavor of it, but it does help keep the bugs out of it. Now I've got two boxes of this ground. I'm going to try to put it into a pint-sized jar. We'll see if it all fits. It's always good to have herbs on hand. It's a great prepper item. You want to stand back because of the dust. Rosemary is good for hair growth, to use as a rinse for your hair. So that worked out really good. We got a pint of that to go into our long-term storage. And I'm going to place a couple of these broken pieces of bay leaf in there. So these are going into the long-term storage, and it'll be great to have on hand. Okay, I've got my labels. These little Avery dots work really good. The only problem with them is they don't come off real easy when you go to clean your jars and lids. So they're labeled and they will be put in the pantry. I have 4 more jars that I need to put into my pantry. These came from the Amish community, so I always write on here Amish and the month. So that way I can keep up with what is not my product and also how long it's been in my pantry. So these are some nice preserves. And that's what I'm doing to the labels. Now, most of the time they put labels on their product. So I'm just going to add the date and the word Amish to it, and they are ready to go into the pantry. All right, y'all, it looks like we have reduced down a good 2 inches in our stock pot, and it is starting to thicken up a little bit. It smells like tomato soup in my house, y'all. I may even keep some of this out and make me a tomato soup and grilled cheese sandwich for lunch. It smells that delicious. And I did add in some of my tomato powder that I make from the skins, just to add a little bit more thickness to this, because I don't have a juicer that will pull out the majority of the pulp, and I want it to give this just a little bit more body. So we're about halfway there. I want to reduce down probably another 2 or 3 inches, and then we will start jarring this up. Now we've reduced another inch at least, and it is getting thicker. It doesn't look like it, but it is. And I can't wait to have this in jars, y'all. But this house smells so good. I may even do grilled cheese and tomato soup for supper. Alright, y'all, we are several hours into this process, and it's still not as thick as I would like it to be, but I'm going to stop now and I'm going to go ahead and get this canned up. It is what it is. We will use it. Next time, hopefully I will have a food juicer that I can use to juice the tomatoes and get all of the pulp and everything out of them. That creates a nice, creamy, thick sauce. Alright, we have cooked this down a good 4 or 5 hours. My first time making this, folks. So I've assembled everything I need here. This sauce is just a little bit runny, so I'm going to let you know that on the front end. And then I forgot my funnel, so I have to grab that. Now, I already have put in my salt and my citric acid into the tomatoes as they were cooking. And like I said, this is runny. It's more like a consistency of a tomato soup after you've cooked it. It may thicken up as it sits on the shelf, I don't know. But I need to get this to a 1/2 inch headspace and get this going, because this is going to can in a hot bath canner for 35 minutes for pints. I'm using 1/2 pints. You use the same temperature for that. And I've got other jars that need to be sterilized. And y'all, I've got my window open today because it's so beautiful outside. And the air's not coming on, so I know that I need that little bit of a breeze blowing through my house while I'm canning, just to keep me a little bit cooler, because it is warm in here. Now the canning book says do 1 jar at a time. Fill 1 jar, clean it, put the lid on it, seal it, and of course you do bubble. But I'm going to do 6, get them set up. And then I'm going to cover my stock pot, put it back on a low burner to keep it hot while I'm canning and processing these jars. And I'll show you how many jars I get at the end of this. I probably should have just decided to make tomato juice today and not go through all of this headache. But this is part of canning. You have to learn. You know, sometimes you'll hit or miss a recipe. And I may have missed this one. But I'm going to put it out there anyway because I want y'all to see how important it is to get everything right. Now I'm just going to stir these. I know they're liquid, but the recipe says to debubble. And your liquid may or may not fall. And then I'm going to check my headspace. And this is a 1/4 inch, this first tooth. This is a 1/2 inch, the second tooth. And so I'm a little bit shy on that one. That one's right on the money. Right on the money. Right on. A little bit shy. A little bit shy. A little bit shy. So we're going to go in and just kind of give it just a little bit of liquid. And we'll check them again. Just a little bit more. Now we're on the money. You want it just touching the liquid. It's just a tad. There. That should do it. And I'm going to set that over here in my sink and that. Now I'm going to wipe the rim of my jars and I'm going to get some bands. Apron pockets are made for bands. And I'm just using some paper towels. And I'm going to wipe the rim. To get anything off of my rims that may be on there. And to test to see if there's any kind of cracks or chips that I might have missed. And that is done. We're going to grab a flat and start putting them on the top of the jars. You do not want to touch the gaskets. And with this, dipping them in warm water will help these seals to seal to your jars. Just so you're aware of that. I'm not doing it without a good reason. Center it on your jar, finger on it, and it's hot, folks. And I'm not going to tighten it any more than that. I'm going to go through these jars one at a time. And I've moved my lid on that one, so I'm going to have to do it again. Ooh, that's hot. Grab my little handy dandy tool. We're going to get this lid tightened to finger tight. Finger tight is when it stops turning, y'all. Okay, no more than that, and back into my canner. I think the idea is to work as quickly as you possibly can so that your product stays hot and your water is hot. Now I had brought my pot back up to temperature, then I lowered it down, and I'm going to just turn it back up. We're going to continue to work on these jars. I'm going to move this jar forward if I can get this thing in there. There we go. Just move it forward a little bit. And if I don't get a lot of half pints out of this, it's okay. This was a test run for me. I just want to try to get it canned now, and we will use it one way or the other. Now I could have let this go a little bit longer in the pot, but I'm starting to get fatigued. And that lid is, that ring or band is not going on straight. Reset my lid. There we go. While my canner's not full, I'm going to go ahead and pull out a couple of jars. Make sure they stand it up in there. I don't want it to fall over. And we're going to move on and get this next jar ready to go in the canner. That's hot. That lid is absolutely hot. Hot, 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 hot. Okay, and pull the rest of these jars out. This particular hot water bath canner will hold 13 half pints. And I'm going to get these situated in here. I think I can get them back in there now. So I'm going to pull this jar forward. We're going to get it full. And we'll start filling up one at a time. Sorry I'm reaching, guys, but this is the way my kitchen is. And it's just a tad more liquid in there. Get that jar started. Check my headspace one more time. That's good. Some more greens. A little more liquid in that. I'm making room in my canner because I have 4 jars left. I'm going to move this up. I need to grab some more lids. And that one's perfect. Let me grab another towel and get a clean one going. Grab a flat. Get it centered on there. Grab my ring. And get that one in its place. In its little bed. Bring the next jar up. Perfect. These last 3 jars are probably not going to be as hot as the other ones were. That's it in there. And my last jar for this canner. Perfect. Grab my lid. Get it centered on there. Put my band on. Finger tight. And into the canner. And there they are, folks. We're going to put the lid on. We're going to wait for steam to come out around the edge of our pot. It shouldn't take long because it's already starting to steam just a little bit. And once it's got a good steam going, we are going to set our timer for 35 minutes. Make sure I've got it on there good. Timer's going off. I've had the lid off for 5 minutes. And I'm going to start removing my jars now. Now these are extremely hot. That's what they look like, folks. We may have tomato juice, we may have tomato soup, or we may have sauce, who knows? I won't know that until I open the jars up. You want to leave a little bit of space between your jars while they're cooling. You want to leave the rings in place 12 to 24 hours. And then you want to check your seals. They're already pinging. That's a good sign. Last jar coming out of the canner. Isn't that pretty? That's 13 half pints. I've got to fill my canner back up, get my jars sterilized, finish my process, and I will be back at the end of all of this to tell you exactly how many jars I got out of this batch. Well, y'all, we've had another canning adventure in Susan's kitchen, and we have a total of 23 and a half pints, or 23 half pints, I should say. Or you could say we have 11 pints and a half pint, or you could say we have 5 quarts, 1 pint, and 1 half pint out of 25 pounds of tomatoes that was juiced by hand. I think that's pretty good. It was an all-day adventure for me, though. It is almost supper time here, and I am done for the day. And I have worked up a sweat. Once I get all this canning finished, I'm hitting the showers. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this. May you be fully blessed.